an involuntary citizen of a world I've had to learn to live in and be at peace with. Thankfully, within a year, I was on the road to some kind of physical recovery. In my head, I could never go back to my old self. In darker moments, I would mourn a former life. Now, each day is a reminder of human frailty. Getting out of bed each morning will always seem like an in-house memo about my fate. How and when will it happen again? That's another mystery for which no one has a satisfactory answer. As a lucky survivor, for more than 20 years, I've been living with the apprehension of mortality. To put this another way, at least half my adult life has been spent in the psychological equivalent of A&E. What follows is a book I don't have much choice about. It comes from the heart. Matters of life and death are my special subject. As you will discover in the pages that follow, I have developed an affinity for conversations with brain surgeons and their patients. My survival after 1995 has had this profound and long-lasting consequence with which I've had to come to terms. For better or worse, I'm a lightning rod for the unwell. Strangers tell me about their sufferings and demons, but few things are ever quite as bad as we fear. This experience has introduced me to many sad cohorts of distress, but it has also come with some rare blessings too. On the dark side, however, you would have to be made of stone not to be moved by many stories from the front line of ill health. Here is an extract from a letter I received soon after I came out of hospital in 1996. We too have become inhabitants of the world of pain. Our lovely daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. A year ago she suffered a stroke, contracted a serious infection, and died of pneumonia. The letter goes on, "Now we are living in hell. I feel that I'll never be happy again. There is nothing to look forward to." As a long-term convalescent, I habitually encounter people talking about their illnesses, their breakdowns, crises, and bereavements. Sometimes a hurt shared becomes a wound soothed. Perhaps this runs in the family. My mother, Christine, a resilient 80-something, is a seasoned Cambridge grief counsellor. She specialises in collecting poetry and prose suitable for funerals. The other day, I went to 2 burial services on successive mornings and was reminded that in my early 60s, I'm no longer a spring chicken. Where strangers used to share their experiences of death and dying, now it's friends who confide their anxieties about the aging process. Suddenly, everyone is having that third thought. As one of my fellow mourners said as she turned in greeting from the pew in front, it's funerals now, not weddings. To some baby boomers, this is unwelcome news. Since the Second World War, biochemical research has excelled in defying the odds against us with discoveries like the structure of the double helix, DNA, the molecule of life. In so doing, medical science has sometimes seemed to persuade itself and many of its patients that our traditional encounter with decrepitude, infirmity, and death can be almost indefinitely postponed. At the same time, those post-war generations, in quest of self-fulfillment, have become complicit with a fantasy of immortality whose cruel outcome can sometimes be a yet more terrible endgame. The novelist, Martin Amis, once observed that, after the age of about 60, whenever we think about the lives we have always taken for granted, we are obliged to concede that, in his words, this is not going to end well. Every third thought takes inspiration from my particular experience, but it's also a response to an immutable predicament. A self-assured generation, which has lived so well for so long, is having to come to terms with the complex but universal truth. Make peace with death and dying, or find the inhibitions of everyday life in your final years becoming a special kind of torment. The baby boomers' response to this predicament, as one of them I can recognize this, has been to put our heads on one side, look puzzled, drag on a cigarette and say something like, "We seem to have a bit of a problem." To which any rational person might respond, "What sort of a problem?" Baby boomer: "That's what we're working on." Rational person: